to share with you some of the things we've done. But before we go into what it is, I really want to talk about why we made MagicScript and what purpose and need it serves. So, we wanted to make spatial application development more accessible to as many developers as possible. For this reason, we chose to use JavaScript language. It's the most popular language on GitHub for 2018, 2019, and it's been growing in popularity for a very long time. So we added all of the Lumen Runtime C++ APIs and exposed them as JavaScript APIs. While this is still very cool and useful, it still didn't have the same development paradigm that JavaScript developers were used to in terms of, you're not going to code it in a C++ style application if you're a JavaScript developer. So we decided to take it a step further, and we built an abstraction layer on top of our JavaScript bindings, and we created a cross-platform JavaScript framework which works on iOS, Lumen Runtime, and on Android. So, diving in a little bit more. MagicScript, we exposed the Lumen Runtime APIs, like I mentioned. That's over 2,000 C++ APIs with direct bindings into JavaScript. So with that, you can create both landscape and immersive applications. You have access to TCP and UDP connections as a developer. We expose the file system, as well as other system calls. We've added in the ability to make WebGL possible in the platform. And we support third-party JavaScript libraries from NPM. But one of the most important things is that this is almost everything I'm talking about here today is open source on GitHub. So we're using the latest ECMAScript standard for JavaScript, which is powered by V8, the same JavaScript engine that's running in Google Chrome and developed by Google. To that, like I said, we add the Lumen Runtime APIs as direct native bindings. Then we pepper in some W3C APIs, such as WebGL and Fetch. And we've added some Node.js APIs as well to enable the third-party NPM libraries. What MagicScript is not. So it's not the browser, you don't have access to the DOM, and it's not a web app. Similarly, we are not Node.js. We did not port Node.js. That was a conscious effort. The Node.js APIs, they serve a different need, and not all of them are necessary for building spatial applications. And similarly, this is not a WebView or a Cordova style application. We have W3C APIs that we add, but we choose, and these are conscious choices as to what we bring over. So more about the framework. This is a React-based framework that has the declarative syntax that React developers are familiar with. We built the abstraction layer on top of the JavaScript Lumen Runtime APIs for supporting the Lumen Runtime backend. And we made use of React Native to plug in directly to ARKit and ARCore. So we built a cross-platform mixed reality JavaScript framework that runs on Lumen Runtime, iOS, and on Android. The declarative syntax that you get with the React programming style, you have that available for you as well. Right now, we've got a little over 30 different components that you can make use of. These are things such as buttons, 3D models, images, various layouts, as well as drop-downs, progress bars, the whole UI kit for developing rich UI. So this is what a sample of the source code looks like. If we start at the top, we have the text and the view, which we take from our MagicScript components. In React, we set the state. We have the hello MagicScript as the message. And the render function makes use of the view and the text with the properties for size, or attributes for size and position. And then the message itself is in the body of the text. That's what's to be displayed. This is the entire source code that any developer would need to write to have this show up. So we have iOS on the left, hello MagicScript, Android in the middle, and then Magic Leap on the left. So here's an example of it actually running. For on Magic Leap, you have the controller input. This is just an image gallery carousel that we have. And then the same application here on Android, the gallery. This image is being loaded over a network. That's why it's a little bit slower to load. And then our two-handed developer is able to get it working on iOS as well. And again, touch input works. It's a little bit hard to see because of the overlap, but there you go. The image did change. So here we had a hackathon a few months ago, just an internal one within my team, and someone built a piano keyboard. This is on Android that was running, and then we have, again, just on iOS. So we've got some really cool tools that we've got possible to enable this and really speed up the onboarding experience for developers. The command line utility that we've built, Magic Script CLI, it's built on Node.js in JavaScript, and again, all open sourced and on GitHub. So to get up and running, you would need to have Node.js installed on your system. After that, we will need you to install the Magic Leap SDK to compile for LumenOS. And then the Magic Script CLI is installed using NPM. And more details at this URL below on detailed steps for all of these pieces. So once you've done those first 3 steps, to initialize a project, we have the Magic Script init command. That gives you an interactive prompt to answer a number of questions. The first being, what's the visible name of my application? The second one is, what's the ID or the bundle identifier of the app that I'm creating? The third one we have is, what's the folder where you're going to be creating this project? So this is the name of the folder relative to where you call the init command. Fourth, we've got what type of application. There's components. We have support for some others, but we're talking about components right now. And then for target of the application, target platforms to support, we have Lumen iOS and Android. That creates the project template for all those 3 different types, and does a quick rename based on the bundle identifier and application name that you choose. After which, it's really just a simple build command, Magic Script build, where you specify the target. Here I have target for Lumen, iOS and Android work as well. And the -I option is to perform an installation of the application as soon as the compile process is finished to install it onto a device. And last, to actually get it up and running on the screen, is Magic Script run, and again specifying the target. To get iOS and Android working, there are a couple of other dependencies that you need to install. So the React Native CLI and Yarn for both platforms. Yarn is just a different package manager, an alternative to NPM that works a little bit better with the React Native CLI. For iOS development, you would need Xcode, Homebrew, and CocoaPods, and for Android, it's Android Studio. These dependencies are basically the ones that you would need for doing React Native development anyway. And here are some just helpful links and URLs for more information. Starting at the top, magicscript.org. That's our sort of microsite landing page. We have everything that I've talked about today is accessible from there, including all these other URLs.